I still drive that stretch of I-80 through Nebraska sometimes. I mean, I have to for work, but I never, ever drive it at night anymore. Not after what happened 3 years ago. It was around 2 a.m., and I was making the long haul from Denver to Chicago. You know those endless stretches of highway where it's just you, the road, and miles of darkness? That was me that night. The radio kept cutting in and out, typical for that dead zone near North Platte. I'd been driving for about 6 hours already, running on coffee and whatever energy drinks I grabbed at the last truck stop. That's when I first noticed the car behind me. Now I've done this drive probably 100 times. You get used to seeing the same vehicles for hours, especially truckers on their regular routes. But this car, something felt off about it from the start. It was maybe a quarter-mile back, just close enough that I could see its headlights in my rearview mirror. Nothing special about that, right? Except it was matching my speed exactly. I'm talking exactly. When I'd speed up to pass a semi, it would speed up. When I'd slow down after passing, it would slow down, always maintaining that same distance. At first, I figured, okay, maybe they're just using me as a pace car. Happens all the time on long drives. But then things got weird. I needed gas, so I took the exit for a small town. I think it was Ogallala. As I'm pulling off, I glance back, and the car takes the exit too. My heart did this little skip. Still, I told myself, they probably need gas too. The thing is, there's only one 24-hour station at that exit. I pull in, and instead of pulling in behind me, the car just stops, right at the edge of the station's lights. Just sits there with its engine running. I could barely make out the shape. Looked like an older sedan, maybe a Crown Vic or something similar. Dark color, but I couldn't tell if it was black or blue in that lighting. And I couldn't see inside at all. The windows must have been tinted. Okay, I whispered to myself. This is getting creepy. I filled up as fast as I could, constantly glancing over my shoulder. The car never moved, never turned off its engine, just sat there, waiting. I went inside to pay, and I asked the kid at the counter, "Hey, you see that car out there? They've been here before." The kid looked out the window and shrugged. "What car?" I turned back, and, I swear, the car had moved. Now it was parked at the far edge of the lot, almost in complete darkness. But those headlights were still on, and I could see them reflected in the station windows, pointing right at me. I practically ran back to my car. As soon as I started pulling out, the other car started moving too. By the time I merged back onto I-80, it was behind me again. Same distance, same speed. That's when I decided to test something. I suddenly changed lanes without signaling. The car behind me changed lanes too, smooth as silk. I changed back. So did they. My hands were getting sweaty on the steering wheel. Then I remembered something my trucker buddy Carl told me once. He said if someone's following you on the highway at night, flash your hazards 3 times. It's like a trucker code that means back off or I see you. So I did it. 3 quick flashes. What happened next made my blood run cold. The car behind me flashed its hazards 3 times too. Then, its headlights. 3 times. Then, and this is what really got me, the dome light inside the car flicked on and off. 3 times. But here's the thing. When that dome light came on, I couldn't see anyone inside. The car looked empty. I'm trying to focus on the road, but I keep glancing in my mirror, and every time that dome light flashed, I saw nothing but an empty driver's seat. What the hell? I said out loud, my voice shaky. What the actual hell? I grabbed my phone to call 911, but of course, no signal. That dead zone stretched for another 40 miles. I was completely alone out there with whoever or whatever. I was in that car. Then, it started getting closer. Not all at once, but gradually. First it was a quarter mile, then maybe 500 feet, then closer. I sped up to 85. It matched me. I pushed it to 90, my old Honda shaking with the effort. The car stayed right with me, getting closer and closer, until its headlights filled my entire rearview mirror. That's when it started flashing its high beams. Not randomly, but in a pattern. 3 short flashes, 3 long ones, 3 short ones again. Over and over. SOS. It was flashing SOS at me. Okay. I yelled at my mirror. "What do you want?" As if it heard me, the car suddenly swerved into the left lane and pulled up alongside me. I tried not to look, I really did, but I had to. I turned my head just enough to see. The driver's window was down, but there was no one there, no one driving. The passenger seat was empty too, but the car was keeping perfect pace with me, staying right alongside me at 90 miles per hour. Then I saw the back seat. There was something in the back seat. A shape, hunched over, too dark to make out clearly. As I watched, frozen in terror, it started to move, slowly, like it was unfolding itself. Rising up, I saw what might have been a head turning toward me. I slammed on my brakes. My tires screamed, and I nearly lost control, fishtailing across the empty highway. The other car shot past me, and for a second I thought I was free. But no, I watched in horror as it hit its brakes too, those red taillights glowing like eyes in the darkness. It started slowing down, getting ready to match my speed again. That's when I saw the exit sign, 1/2 mile, some tiny town I'd never heard of. I didn't care. I'd rather be lost on back roads than play whatever sick game this was. I gunned it, building up just enough speed to reach the exit. At the last possible second, I yanked the wheel right and flew down the off-ramp, taking it way too fast. The other car sailed past the exit. I thought I'd lost it, but as I reached the bottom of the ramp, I looked back and saw it up on the highway. It had stopped. Right there on I-80, completely stopped, hazards flashing, waiting. I didn't stick around to see what it would do next. I drove through that little town, found a well-lit truck stop, and parked right under the brightest light I could find. I stayed there until sunrise, dozed off a few times but kept waking up in a panic, checking all my mirrors. When I finally got back on I-80 the next morning, there was no sign of the car. I made it to Chicago without any more trouble, but I asked around at truck stops, talked to other drivers. Turns out, I'm not the only one. There are stories about that stretch of I-80. Always the same. A car that follows you, matches your moves, flashes that SOS pattern. Some drivers say they've seen it multiple times. Some say if you actually stop when it signals SOS, you'll never be seen again. Carl, my trucker buddy, he told me something that still gives me chills. He said his nephew went missing on that same stretch of highway 5 years ago. They found his car on the shoulder, engine still running, driver door open. No sign of him. But there were 2 sets of tire tracks, like another car had been there. The weird part? His hazard lights were still flashing when they found the car. In a pattern. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. I don't drive that stretch at night anymore. I'll take the long way, add 3 hours to my trip. I don't care. Because sometimes, when I'm on any empty highway after dark, I still check my mirrors more than I should, looking for headlights, watching for patterns. And sometimes, just sometimes, I think I see them. I need to tell someone about this. It's been eating at me for 2 months now, and my wife thinks I'm losing it. But I know what I saw that night on Route 50 through Nevada. I know what happened was real. I'm a pharmaceutical sales rep, so I drive a lot. Vegas to Reno is one of my regular routes. Route 50 is called the loneliest road in America, for a reason. There's nothing out there but desert, mountains, and the occasional ghost town. I actually prefer it to I-80 because there's less traffic and I can make better time. It was a Tuesday night in September. I'd had a late meeting in Vegas and didn't get on the road until almost 10 p.m. Usually, I'd have stayed the night and driven in the morning, but my daughter had a recital the next day, and I'd promised I'd be there. The first 3 hours were fine, quiet, peaceful even. Just me, the road, and a podcast about true crime. Ironic, I know. Around 1 a.m., I was somewhere between Austin and Eureka, that stretch where you can drive for an hour without seeing another soul. That's when I saw her. At first, it was just a flash of white in my headlights, way up ahead. I figured it was a reflective road sign or maybe a piece of trash blowing across the highway. But as I got closer, I realized it was a person, a woman, standing right on the side of the road. She was wearing what looked like a white dress or nightgown, and she had long, dark hair. No jacket, no shoes that I could see. just standing there in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night, in basically pajamas. The temperature drops to near freezing in the desert at night. She had to be freezing. I slowed down, obviously. My first thought was car accident. Maybe she'd crashed, maybe she was in shock. I couldn't see any vehicles, but it was dark, and there were plenty of ravines and drop-offs where a car could have gone over. As I pulled up alongside her, she turned to look at me. Young woman, maybe mid-20s, pretty, but her face was, I don't know how to describe it, blank, like she was sleepwalking or something. She didn't wave me down, didn't call out for help, just stared. I rolled down my passenger window. Hey, are you okay? Do you need help? She tilted her head, like she was trying to understand what I was saying. Then, in this really soft voice, almost a whisper, she said, I need to go home. Okay, where's home? What happened to your car? Home, she repeated. I need to go home. Will you take me home? Something felt off, but what was I going to do? Leave her out there? I'm a dad. I kept thinking, what if that was my daughter? So I unlocked the doors. Yeah, of course. Get in. Let's get you warm. She moved toward the car, and I mean, it was weird how she moved. Too smooth, like she was gliding instead of walking. She opened the door and slid into the passenger seat. The dome light came on, and I got a better look at her. Her dress, it wasn't just white. It was like spotless white. No dirt, no dust, nothing. Which made no sense if she'd been walking along the highway. I'm Tom, I said, cranking up the heat. What's your name? She was staring straight ahead through the windshield. Sarah. Okay, Sarah. Where am I taking you? What town? She pointed ahead down the highway. Just drive. I'll know it when I see it. Red flag, right? But she seemed harmless, confused, maybe in shock, but harmless. So I started driving. I tried asking her what happened, if she was hurt, if I should call someone. She wouldn't answer anything except to occasionally whisper, home, and keep pointing straight ahead. After about 10 minutes, I noticed the smell. It was subtle at first, but it got stronger. Like wet earth, like soil after rain, but it hadn't rained. The desert had been dry for months. Sarah, are you sure you're not hurt? I glanced over at her. She turned her head toward me, and I swear the temperature in the car dropped 10 degrees. Her eyes, there was something wrong with her eyes. They were too dark. Not just brown, but black. All black. No whites at all. I died here, she said, matter-of-factly. 17 years ago, October 15th. My boyfriend, he was drunk. We went off the road. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. What are you talking about? Right here, she pointed to the side of the road. We went off right here. The car rolled 4 times. I went through the windshield. I looked where she was pointing. There was an old wooden cross on the roadside, the kind people put up at accident sites. Fresh flowers were tied to it, which seemed odd way out here. Sarah, you're scaring me. This isn't funny. I'm not trying to be funny. Her voice was getting quieter. I just want to go home. Every year, on this night, I try to get home. Someone always stops, but they never take me all the way home. I hit the brakes. Okay, you need to get out. Right now. She looked at me with those black eyes. You can't stop here. This is where it happened. Please, just a little further. I'm so cold, Tom. I've been cold for 17 years. I looked in the rearview mirror, thinking maybe this was some kind of prank. Maybe someone was filming this, but there was nothing behind us, just empty road. When I looked back at Sarah, she was crying, but the tears, they were dark, like oil. Please, she whispered. I just want my mom. I just want to go home. Against every instinct screaming at me to run, I kept driving. I don't know why. Maybe it was the way she said mom. Maybe I'm just an idiot. But I drove. 5 miles, 10 miles. She kept pointing ahead, kept whispering about home. The smell got stronger. That earth smell, but now mixed with something else. Something metallic, like blood. Then she grabbed my arm. Her hand was ice cold, and I mean ice. It burned where she touched me. There, she said. Turn there. There was a dirt road leading off the highway. No signs, nothing. just a dirt road leading into the darkness. I turned. I don't know why I turned, but I did. We drove for maybe 2 miles. My headlights swept across abandoned buildings, old mining structures from the looks of them. And then, at the end of the road, a small house. Broken windows, caved-in roof, clearly abandoned for years. "Home," Sarah said. She sounded relieved. Happy, even. "Thank you, Tom. Thank you for bringing me home." She opened the door and got out. I watched her walk toward the ruined house. As she walked, she started to fade, like she was becoming transparent. By the time she reached the front door, I could see right through her. Then she was gone. I sat there for maybe 30 seconds, engine running, trying to process what I'd just seen. Then my rational brain kicked in. I needed to get out of there. Now. I threw the car in reverse and started backing up. That's when my headlights swept across something that made me slam on the brakes. There was another cross in the overgrown yard, newer than the one on the highway. The name was still readable. Sarah Morrison, 1985 to 2006. Finally home. I got out of there so fast I'm surprised I didn't wreck my car on that dirt road. I drove straight through to Reno. Didn't stop once, hands shaking the entire time. When I got home, I researched Sarah Morrison, found an old news article, the 15th of October, 2006. A couple, Sarah Morrison and her boyfriend, died in a single-car accident on Route 50. He'd been drinking. They went off the road at high speed. She was ejected from the vehicle. Her body was never found. The article mentioned search teams looked for days but couldn't locate her. Her parents held out hope she might have survived, wandered off, injured. They searched for 2 years before finally putting up a memorial at their old family home, a house at an abandoned mining camp where Sarah had grown up. I went back to that stretch of Route 50 a month later. During the day, with my wife, I wanted to prove to myself it had been a hallucination, too much caffeine, not enough sleep. We found the wooden cross on the highway right where I remembered it. Fresh flowers, just like that night. But when I tried to find the dirt road, it wasn't there. We drove that stretch 3 times. There was no dirt road, no abandoned mining camp, nothing but desert. My wife thinks I dreamed it. Maybe I did, but I've got a mark on my arm where Sarah grabbed me. It's faded now, but for weeks it was there, a handprint, burned into my skin like frostbite. I don't drive at night anymore if I can help it, and I definitely don't pick up hitchhikers. But every October 15th, I think about Sarah. I check the news to see if anyone reports seeing a woman in white on Route 50. So far, nothing, but I know she's out there. Still trying to get home, still cold, and sometimes, when I'm driving alone and I see someone on the side of the road, I slow down. I always slow down. Because what if it's someone who really needs help? What if it's not Sarah? But then I remember those black eyes, that cold touch, and I keep driving. I tell myself it's the safe thing to do. I just hope someone else stops for her. I hope someone else is brave enough to take her all the way home. I've been a long-haul trucker for 15 years, seen everything there is to see on America's highways. Crazy drivers, bad weather, accidents that'll make you lose your lunch. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened at that rest stop on I-70 inches, Kansas last winter. It was January, one of those brutal Midwest nights where the wind cuts right through you. I was hauling a load of electronics from Denver to Indianapolis, trying to beat a storm system moving in. Around 2 a.m., I needed a break. DOT regulations and all that. But honestly, I was getting drowsy. The snow was starting to come down harder, and the last thing I needed was to jackknife my rig. I knew there was a rest stop coming up. One of those old ones Kansas hasn't renovated yet. Just bathrooms, some picnic tables, and a couple of streetlights. Pretty isolated, but it would do. I pulled in, and mine was the only truck there. There were 2 cars parked at the far end of the lot, a beat-up Corolla and some kind of SUV. Nothing unusual about that. People sleep at rest stops all the time. I set my brake, killed the engine, and decided to use the bathroom before catching some shut-eye in my sleeper. The moment I stepped out of my cab, something felt wrong. You know that feeling when the air is too quiet? Like even the wind is holding its breath? That's what it was like. The bathroom building was maybe 50 yards away, one of those cinder block structures that always smell like disinfectant and despair. The streetlight over it was flickering, throwing weird shadows. I remember thinking I should just piss behind my truck and call it good, but I didn't. Halfway to the bathroom, I heard it, a sound coming from the Corolla, like someone crying. Sobbing, really. Deep, body-shaking sobs. I stopped and listened. It was a woman's voice, and she sounded terrified. Now, I'm not a small guy. 6'2", 250, and I've handled my share of trouble. But I'm also not stupid. I pulled out my phone, ready to call 911. That's when I noticed. No signal. Not even emergency calls. The storm must have knocked out the nearest tower. The crying got louder, more desperate. And then I heard her say something that made my blood freeze. Please, please, don't. I have children. That did it. I couldn't walk away from that. I started toward the Corolla, my hand on the knife I keep clipped to my belt. Hey, I called out. Everything okay over there? Do you need help? The crying stopped. Dead silence. The windows of the Corolla were fogged up, so I couldn't see inside. I got closer, close enough to see that the car was rocking slightly. Someone was moving inside. Mom, I'm going to call for help, okay? Just. The driver's door flew open. A woman stumbled out, 30s, blonde hair all messed up, wearing just a t-shirt and jeans despite the cold. She looked at me with these wide, terrified eyes and whispered, "Run." "What? Ma'am, are you?" "Run," she screamed. That's when I saw what came out after her. I still don't know how to describe it. It was shaped like a man, but wrong. Too tall, too thin. Its arms were too long, hanging down past its knees. And its face, Christ, its face was all wrong. The features were there. Eyes, nose, mouth, but they were in the wrong places, like someone had rearranged them. It moved in these jerky, stuttering motions, like a film missing frames. 1 second, it was by the car. The next, it was 5 feet closer to the woman. She ran toward me, and I grabbed her arm, pulling her behind me. "Get to my truck," I shouted, backing away from that thing. "The red Peterbilt. Get inside." She ran. I stayed between her and whatever that was, backing up slowly, my hand on my knife like that would do any good. The thing tilted its head, too far, almost completely sideways, and made this sound. Like radio static mixed with breaking glass. It hurt to hear it. Then it smiled. Its mouth split open way too wide, showing teeth that looked like broken glass. And it spoke. Not with its mouth. The words just appeared in my head, cold and sharp. "She's mine. I found her first." "Like hell," I said, and I turned and ran. I'm not proud of it, but I ran like I've never run before. Behind me, I could hear it moving. That stuttering, impossible movement getting closer. The woman had reached my truck and was pulling on the door handle, screaming. I yanked out my keys as I ran, hit the unlock button. She dove inside just as I reached the cab. I jumped in after her, slammed the door, hit the locks. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get the key in the ignition. That's when it appeared at my window. Just suddenly there, face pressed against the glass. Up close, I could see its skin wasn't really skin. It was like static, like TV snow in the shape of a person. It tapped on the window with one long finger, and frost spread from where it touched. "Open," it said in my head. "Open now." I got the truck started, threw it in gear. But when I hit the gas, nothing happened. The wheels spun, but we didn't move. I looked in my mirrors. There was nothing blocking us. We just couldn't move. The woman was curled up in the passenger seat, sobbing. "It won't let us go," she whispered. "It's been following me for 3 days. Every time I stop, it finds me. It won't let me go." The thing walked around to the front of my truck. I had my high beams on, and in that bright light, I could see it more clearly. I wish I hadn't. Its body kept shifting, like it couldn't hold a solid form. Parts of it would dissolve into static and reform. And behind it, coming from the other car, the SUV, another one was approaching. Same impossible proportions, Same wrong face. How many are there? I asked. I don't know, the woman said. More every time I stop. They're collecting people. That's when I noticed movement in the SUV. Someone was in there, pounding on the windows, trying to get out. The two things stood in front of my truck, just staring. Then they started to change. Their forms began to merge, static flowing between them like liquid. They were combining, becoming something bigger, something worse. I did the only thing I could think of. I laid on the horn, long, loud blasts. Maybe someone would hear. Maybe another trucker would come. Something. The woman covered her ears, but I kept honking. The things didn't like that. They separated, moving to either side of the truck. One went to her door, one stayed at mine. They started pulling. I could feel the truck rocking. These things, whatever they were strong enough to rock a fully loaded semi. What do they want? I shouted over the horn. I don't know, the woman screamed back. I was driving home from work and saw one on the side of the road. It looked like a person who needed help, so I slowed down. That was 3 days ago. They won't let me go home. They won't let me stop. When I run out of gas, they push my car to the next station. They're keeping me. The pulling got stronger. I heard metal groaning. My driver's side mirror snapped off. That's when I remembered something. I keep a road flare in my emergency kit. Fire. Maybe they didn't like fire. I grabbed the flare from behind my seat, cracked the window just an inch, and lit it. The second that red flame burst to life, both things backed away, making that static scream sound. I shoved the flare out the crack in the window, waving it at them. They retreated further. Not far, but enough. I threw the truck in gear again, and this time we moved. Just a little, but we moved. I kept the flare burning, steering with one hand, and started crawling forward. The person in the SUV, the woman said. We can't leave them. She was right. God help me, I knew she was right. I pulled up alongside the SUV, still waving the flare. Inside, I could see a kid, maybe 20 years old, looking absolutely terrified. I reached over and unlocked my doors. When I say run, you run, I yelled to the woman. She nodded, understanding. I threw open my door, flare in hand. Now! We both jumped out. She ran to the SUV, yanking on the door. It was locked. The kid inside was fumbling with the controls. The static things were circling us now, staying just outside the light of the flare. There were more of them. 5, 6, maybe 7. Where they were coming from, I had no idea. The woman pounded on the window. Unlock it. Unlock it. Finally, the kid got it. The door flew open, and he tumbled out. That's when I saw his legs. They were wrong. Partially static, like he was being converted into one of them. Help me carry him, the woman shouted. We each got under one of his arms. He was heavier than he looked, like parts of him were made of something denser than flesh. We half dragged, half carried him to my truck as the flare started to sputter. We got him in the sleeper cab, and I dove back into the driver's seat. The flare died just as I slammed the door. Instantly, the things were back at the windows, pulling, shaking the truck. But I got it moving. Slow at first, then faster. They ran alongside us, and when I say ran, I mean they flickered alongside us, appearing and disappearing, always keeping pace. I hit the highway doing 70, then 80. They stayed with us for 5 miles before finally fading away. I didn't slow down until we hit the next town, pulled into the brightest truck stop I could find. Under those sodium lights, with other people around, we finally felt safe. The woman's name was Claire. The kid was Marcus. He'd been grabbed 2 days before Claire had been in that SUV for almost a week. The static things had been feeding him something. He couldn't remember what. That was changing him. We called the cops, but what could we say? They took a report, figured we were all high or something. Marcus went to the hospital. Last I heard, doctors couldn't explain what was happening to his legs. Some kind of cellular breakdown they'd never seen before. Claire, she disappeared a month later, just vanished. Her car was found at another rest stop, doors open, engine running. I still drive that stretch of I-70, have to for work, but I never stop at that rest area. I've asked other truckers about it. Most just laugh, but a few, get this look. They've seen things too. One guy told me he'd seen the static things in his mirrors following him for miles. Another said he'd picked up a hitchhiker near there who dissolved into static in his passenger seat. I keep flares in my truck now, lots of them, and I never stop at isolated rest areas, ever, because they're out there, collecting people, taking them for God knows what purpose. Sometimes, late at night when I'm driving through Kansas, I think I see them in my mirrors. Flickering forms keeping pace with my truck, but when I look directly, there's nothing there. Just the dark highway stretching out behind me. I pray it stays that way.